Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. We're your host, Grant Cohn, Coach Noah Johnston. Sorry we're late, although I usually am. That's the way it goes. Coach, filling in for my dad in the Cohn Zone time slot. Big shoes to fill, but that's why I called on you, Coach. How you doing?
Doing good. Big gloves to fill, right?
Hey, see, that's why quick on your feet. All right, so the title of the show is Teams That Could Trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Ian Rappaport has been doing so much backpedaling this week and trying to explain what he knows or what he didn't hear or whatever. But in all of his defensive backpedaling, he's actually revealed more information. So we're gonna lead up to that. But first, let's stay in the moment because we're not at the offseason yet, although that's the juicy topic. Let's talk about the upcoming game against the 3-8 Seahawks. Hey, turn me down just a little bit.
Turn you down?
Yeah, it's a little feedback. Niners playing the 3-8 Seahawks. They looked pathetic for most of that game against Washington last night, but then made it a game at the end like they normally do and lost by 2. They actually got the onside kick and it didn't count because some guy lined up 2 yards too much to the left. That's how close. That's what that game came down to. So they look dead, but at the same time, it's Seattle. The Niners don't play well up there. It's Russell Wilson. Is this game even bigger than last week, at least in terms of what's at stake? The implications.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways it is because so what's at stake, and then it's Seattle putting Seattle to sleep for the rest of the season. And I think also, the rest of their schedule, like I know Tennessee's reeling a little bit, but they're still like they're still a good team.
They could get their stuff together by then.
The Bengals, that's not going to be an easy game.
No. The Rams
that's going
to be like.
I know they have the Rams number, but the Rams are still a good team, right? Yeah. So, like the Texans are on the schedule, and so you can make that if anything's a guarantee, it's that. So like when
Atlanta, I would say Atlanta too, maybe. Did they just win this week?
Yeah, they won.
Oh, wow. Excuse me. I cover the NFL for a living. I didn't know that. Yeah, they beat Jacksonville. Okay, that's not an accomplishment. They beat them by 7. I would say the Niners should definitely win those 2 games. But other than those 2 games, this would be the other game that you think the Niners definitely should beat Seattle, right? They're 3-8, but they've lost to Seattle already. And I don't know. What have you seen from Seattle? Why do they suck so hard?
I think, and I also think it's a good barometer for the Niners because you don't have Warner, and you don't have Deebo Samuel. If they can win this game, that's going to say something about this team. So I think that's another reason as well. I mean, this is why you're getting paid the big bucks, Kyle, because these are games you got to figure out a way to win.
Yeah, I mean, this would be a good game to dominate. But here's the thing: I don't know if they will. It's tough, and that's a good. I mean, the defense played well against Washington, which is an extremely similar team to the Niners, right? I mean, they're like a ball control, run it 40 times, throw quick passes with your plucky, gritty quarterback. Yeah. I mean, that's Washington. That's the
Adams had a pick. I think he's no longer tied with Vince Wilfork for career interceptions.
So it seems to me that defense, look, it has some talent. It just played well against a similar offense. They've played the Niners a lot. They've had success against Jimmy Garoppolo the last 2 times. They weren't that great last year, and they made the Niners look terrible in Seattle. They made Jimmy look terrible in Seattle. The Niners should beat the Seahawks, but still a big test. It's not an easy game. I think it's still a big test.
Also, remember, Seattle defensively did a good job against Green Bay. So, like they didn't lose that game because of their defense. They lost the game. They lost that game because of their offense, which is crazy, right? Because you have Russell Wilson. I think Metcalf has gone like MIA. I don't know what.
They don't throw to him anymore. So weird.
But you know who's a good cure for that? Josh Norman.
Josh Norman. Josh Hutchins has a good point. He says the Seahawks do us like we do the Rams, pretty much. So you know how Niner fans, how you're like not worried at all about Week 18 against the Rams. I think that's kind of how Seahawks feel this week. I bet the Seahawks fans are like, damn, we're 3-8, and this is really depressing. But at least we got the Niners coming up, and maybe they're wrong to feel that way, but that's how they feel, and that's how you feel about the Rams. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot. This is a big game. The Niners should win it for sure. I'm not picking the Seahawks, but I don't feel super confident about picking the Niners either. I don't. Pete Carroll is a very good defensive coach. The defense just played well, and he's shown that he's kind of has a good plan for Jimmy, as opposed to some coaches. So, Bobby Wagner, they have good safeties and linebackers. They're a little weak at corner. Who cares? Jimmy doesn't throw outside.
That's the thing. I think.
Who cares?
And I think it comes back to Jimmy Garoppolo, which the question is, when you take away the run game, can Jimmy play quarterback? And Seattle when their defense gets going can take away the run game. Bobby Wagner
he can play quarterback, but not great. I can play it. I've seen him play it.
Right. That's right. Is he gonna play it and make Jamal Adams' career and give him more interceptions and make that contract?
Could be Jordan Brooks. Could be Bobby Wagner. All right, let's move on. Speaking of Jimmy and what he's going to do this week, the 49ers won't have Deebo Samuel this week. He's their MVP. He's their offense. A few weeks ago, I don't think they would have beaten the Bears without Deebo Samuel. That's how important he was and how bad they were in early November. I think they would have lost to Chicago without Deebo. Now, Elijah Mitchell's going, Ayuk's going. They have a lot going on offense, but Deebo's still by far the best player. What is his absence going to do to the Niners in this game?
I mean, I think it's going to change some of the things that they can do with their offense, right? I mean, because Deebo is a big part of the run game and the way they like to personnel guys. But for me, I believe that skilled players and other don't have that sort of impact on NFL games. I think it's the quarterback, and they have a week to figure out. I think it'd be a lot different if Deebo got injured in the game on Sunday because you game plan the entire week and he's part of the game plan. Now you have to switch it up. But they have a week to figure it out, to figure out what are they going to do, how are they going to get extra offense. As I recall, I believe Seattle has always been susceptible to the tight end. This is a good week to get George Kittle going. I mean, it's not like they're absent of weapons. Ayuk has looked great in the last couple of weeks. You're going to watch film later on today. Kittle gets open. They just don't find him. So they still have weapons. Jennings did a nice job last week making some catches. Trent Sherfield showed up, made a big play on a third down, third and long. So they have weapons. They're not Deebo, but I think there's enough there to create some offense. And I know Deebo is important, but you have a week to figure it out. Kyle is the best offensive mind in the game, so you should be able to figure it out.
Yeah, agree. The thing with Deebo is that he's been the big play element in the offense all year. Kittle doesn't give it anymore. Ayuk to an extent, but it's Deebo every game. It's like when they were down against Chicago, he was the one that had the 80-yard screen. And without him, it's just a very plodding, slow offense, and you can win that way. The Patriots do. But you have to have a really precise, great quarterback. And I don't think if you get into a game where there's no Deebo and maybe the Seahawks are doing a good job against Elijah Mitchell, and Kyle doesn't have a ton of confidence in the run game, and he's got to pass more. Without that big play, the Niners just don't execute well enough to sustain long drives, I think, consistently. Without Deebo, maybe I'm wrong. They do have long drives, but I feel like the big play has really been what's getting them wins the last month.
My counter to that would be is that by design or is it because of Deebo? I'll give you an example. For years we would say, why isn't George Kittle getting touchdowns? Why isn't he a weapon in the red zone? Like, is he just not a great hands catcher? And then all of a sudden, they start throwing to him in the red zone. He's making catches over defenders and all this.
That is true. The thing with Debo, though, is like the touchdowns. He's had like 5 touchdowns the last 3 games. And there's been like they'll be at the 20. Like, well, we'll just hand off to Debo touchdown. Like, I mean, come on. Like, no one else is doing it. Yeah, that's gone. That's not – you can't do that with Ayuk or Kittle or I don't even think Mitchell. It's just a Debo thing. Oh, we're in the 25. Right. Let's just hand off and get a touchdown because no one will touch him. They've done that 2 or 3 times.
Because no one will touch him. And also is Jimmy can't make a bad decision and throw it to a linebacker if you just put it in Debo's hands. And
yeah, exactly. You don't have to worry about him throwing the ball in compressed coverage, all that. So not having Debo, I think is going to be a big deal. Like, look, they didn't have Debo against the Seahawks last year in Seattle. What happened? Jimmy was freaking awful in that game, and then he got hurt and left. So I'm not saying he should improve. He has Elijah Mitchell now. He didn't have Elijah Mitchell then. I don't think he had Mostert in that game either. But if Elijah Mitchell isn't cooking and Pete Carroll can stop this run game, which he's actually kind of done sometimes, I don't know, man. It's going to be bad. So yeah. Elijah, you step the hell up, dude. It's on you. It's on you, Elijah. Or Ayuk, too, if you want to play running back. I don't think you do, though. Kittle already doesn't.
Maybe Ross Dwelly can do it.
Yeah. Mo Dallas says, keep killing it, my brothers. I'm scared Debo may miss more than 1 to 2 games. Hopefully, Ayuk can explode like he did when Debo missed time last year. I wonder if they'll rush him back for – like, if they beat the Seahawks, you think he'll sit? And if they lose the Seahawks, you think he'll come back for – I don't know. They can't – hey, they got to make sure this doesn't pop back up. It's a 1 to 2 week injury, fine. It can't ever happen again this season because the season's over if he's not there for a playoff game.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't rush him back. Play the long game with Debo. They've done this before with Kittle and stuff. Like, when he comes back, 100%, please. Like, let him be 100%.
Last year they kept rushing him back. He kept re-aggravating it, and it was no bueno. So they got to make sure this is 100% fixed. Corey says off topic, but what do you think of Bourne's performance? It's really good. The Niners should have re-signed him.
I
There's
thought it was
2
good.
guys on the Patriots right now that the Niners developed and let go that the Patriots have for totally like cheap bargain rates. Him and Trent Brown. And the Niners never really found upgrades over either player.
I mean, I think that the Niners wide receivers are fine. I think I think it's
Bourne is cheap. I mean, they're not overpaying him in New England. Like he could be your number 3 receiver or a good number.
My question with that is, and I think it's an issue of development. You're running the ball, right? So there's only so many balls to go around. So if they're going to Bourne, these balls aren't going to Brandon Ayuk. And then how does Brandon Ayuk develop? Like, so I think it kind of goes back to the issue.
Debo's a running back now. Kittle is an offensive tackle. So I think they actually could have used Bourne. Just saying.
Yeah.
But I hear you. I feel you. I just feel like instead of spending money on Samson Ebukam, who isn't good, you didn't develop him, you didn't know him, he's a waste of money. Just don't take for granted your ability to develop players. You don't do it all the time, and you did it with him. So, I mean, you did it with Mosley, and you kept him around. That's smart. Mosley's not great, but you don't have another Mosley in the pipeline. You know, if it's not him, it's going to be Drake Kirkpatrick. So good job signing Mosley. Good. I hope they should bring back Kevin Givens. That's another guy you've done a good job with. Dwelly probably should bring him back. He's not going to cost you much, but no, you'll let him go and bring in some guy named Jerick McKinnon or someone you don't really know who's got an issue, but you coveted from afar.
I thought Ebukam right idea, maybe, but wrong player. Like, because they do need. You've been saying it. They do need edge help. Like, you're waiting for someone to step up besides Nick Bosa. But
the problem is you signed someone you didn't know and you let someone go that you did. So, I mean, yeah, it was the right idea, wrong. But that's the risk you run when you're signing someone that that the Rams don't want and you do. Well, why don't the Rams want him? Because he's not a freaking pass rusher. And they would have used him as one if he was. I mean, come on. They were just in practice like, oh, we just don't. We're missing it here. No, they would love for him to be a pass rusher. He's not. He's Dakota Watson with a lot more money.
They're like, the Rams are so stupid. We're gonna.
Right. Rams are so dumb. Like, and same thing with D Ford. Oh, Chiefs are so dumb. Like, no. They probably know him really well. Matthew says this week is the real litmus test. Last 3 teams have gifted us the wins. Every team has injuries. Good teams find a way to win. Time to see your true colors.
Yeah.
I mean, in the sense that Kirk Cousins was freaking awful, man. But look, Russell Wilson looks like his finger's still messed up, dude. He misses some throws. You're like, What? He used to be so much better. I'm watching this game and thinking, what the hell happened to Russell Wilson? But then he looked good in the final drive. I don't know. D. Lombardi says Debo only 2 catches last 2 games. Well, yeah, that's.
Oh yeah,
spreadsheet on that one.
Debo was absent. Debo didn't do anything the last 2 games. Was absolutely absent. Just had no impact.
It was all Jimmy. Jimmy is the reason. He's the MVP of this team. Okay, Fred Warner also not going to play against the Seahawks. Hasn't made as big of an impact this year as he did last year, but he's still the quarterback of the defense. What do you think his absence will mean for the 49ers in this matchup?
I think they can get around it. Again, I think I'll apply the same deal with what I said with Debo, but for even more so with Warner, because I think Debo has a greater impact on the offense. But Warner, I don't think Warner has played. I think Warner has played badly versus the run versus the pass. I think he's had a good year. Just because he's not getting picks doesn't mean he's not covering well. But they can stop the run without him. I think he'll have some of an impact, but they can get by without him. He's still not great versus the run. I mean, I was watching some of the film this past game. The first play when the Vikings run the ball, he gives up his gap, and Eric Armstead makes a play. And if Eric wasn't there, then Cook might have took it to the house because Warner didn't get to his gap. So with some of that stuff, if Seattle's going to try to run the ball, they might be better with if Greenlaw can play and Shair. I think who's that? If one of those guys gets hurt, who's going to step up? That would be the other question. But I think they can get by. I think they can get by without Warner.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. Again, I agree with you. I think the Niners should and will beat the Seahawks this week, but we both think the Seahawks are kind of a live underdog here, and I don't know what Shane Waldron is doing with this offense. He may not know what he's doing, and it looks like they're not doing much of anything. But I know what Pete Carroll philosophically wants to do, just kind of run the ball if he can and beat you up if he can. And if the Niners are down Warner and Greenlaw, as it seems like they will be, then that means their base defense has who at linebacker? Al-Shaair, who's a stud, and Flanagan Foles, and who? Hufanga? So here's the thing. What the Seahawks could theoretically do is try to play, 2 tight ends and run the ball, which I don't know if they've had any success doing this year, but maybe that could work just because the Niners are a little, they're not really themselves this week. That's one thing. I mean, I would be shocked if Pete Carroll didn't try to do that. That's his DNA.
Yeah, Pete Carroll wants to run
right. And he's looking at the Niners defense this week. It's like, oh, I got a green light. And it's not like the Niners are going to blow you away with their offense without Debo. They're going to, have slow method. They're going to be running the ball too. It's going to be a low scoring game.
So, if I recall, I think Al-Shaair is the backup Mike. I think he's been Mike for the last couple of years, so I think he'll probably slide to Mike.
Yep.
It seems like that they prefer Marcel Harris as the backer in.
So you're going to have Harris and Foles flanking him, man. Just saying. You're going to see the Seahawks try to run the hell out of the ball. I don't know if they'll have any success, but if they don't, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, I'm
offensive line, right? Every year.
I'll be curious to see, and I don't know, Grant, if they've made any moves since. Like, would they bring back like Michael Kendricks? I know wasn't he on the practice squad earlier this year?
That's interesting. They could do something like that. That's a good point. They could make a move midweek because right now they look real light. I mean, they look more built to play like the Cardinals and have a guy like Hufanga at safety and just go dime than they are. You can't do that against the Seahawks because they will just pound you. They'll pound you if you give them the opportunity to.
And the thing about it, it's not just as simple as because the run fits as a linebacker. I mean, some of their defense is safety, and the linebackers have some of the same run fits. But playing linebacker, it's different than when you're a safety, and you have to play it you have to play the run a little differently, and usually you're asked to come harder on your fits, to be a little bit more aggressive. So if the Seattle is running the football, you really don't want to have safeties as linebackers. But
yeah,
I prefer to have. Wasn't Flanagan Foles was a converted safety, wasn't he?
He was. He played safety at Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just remember, the Niners almost beat Seattle last year with C.J. Beathard. They outgained Seattle this year by, I think, 200 yards at home and lost because they turned the ball over. As long as they don't play sloppy football, which they haven't done in a month, they take care of business in this game even without Fred Warner, although I just feel like it might be a kind of an ugly, low-scoring, uneventful game that probably deserved to get flexed out of primetime. Mosley is probably top 20 this year, Grant. Put some respect on his name. Only 64 starting quarterbacks in the league. He's not being tested for a reason. Yeah, bunch of reasons. One of them is Josh Norman is on the field. But no, Emmanuel Mosley is a plus starting corner. He should definitely start next year. I like Mosley. I'm definitely putting respect on his name.
I've personally touted Mosley. I've been a big proponent of Mosley. I've touted him. I mean, I
top 20?
I'm sorry?
He's top 20 in the league?
It's hard to say because for exactly the point that you just made is he's got Josh Norman opposites to him. So when they're trying to get good plays, they're going big plays. Teams are going the opposite side. You'll be able to tell more about Mosley when he has somebody opposite him that can really play that position, and he gets tested more. But
I don't think the Niners got a number one corner. Let's look for a number two. No, they got a really good number two corner. Let's look for number one. Yeah. That's how I would look at it.
No, Mosley, in my opinion, Mosley's a really good number two corner.
Which would make him top 40, top 35, top 30.
He's having a great season. He really is having a great season.
It's not like the Niners. He's not coasting off the back of a good pass rush. No, right. No. Although Bosa is doing his thing. Great show. Jimmy's going to the Broncos. Oh, we're going to talk about that, but we're going to make you wait. The Broncos. Man. Jimmy's coming back. Shaney's shown zero outward signs that he wants to move on from him. Zero signs that he wants to give the offense to Trey. We're going to go full tinfoil hat for you, Chris. Don't worry. We're going to call this the tinfoil hat show. It might as well be. Jimmy G number 7 in NFL QBR, number 13 in passer rating. LOL. Great. And yet his trade value won't go up. Why is that?
Right.
All right, but we're not going there yet. The Niners have won 3 games in a row. They're 6-5. They are 1 game better than the Washington football team, who's also won 3 in a row. They have the same record as the Las Vegas Raiders. Big deal. 6-5. Woo! I'm juiced. 3 in a row. So now the Niners are the 6th seed. Only team ahead of them is the Rams, who lost 3 in a row. They look awful. Their running game is mediocre at best. Their quarterback is Matthew Stafford, who's looking like the Stafford of old. He's looking injured. I don't know what's going on over there. All of a sudden, things are breaking good for the 49ers. How do you see, where is the competition for them in the NFC wildcard picture?
If you look at it, team looks like it's so like because of this extra playoff. See, it's like it's a mess. It's so conjumbled.
Every team's in it. Yeah,
you can't make sense of it. The one thing, and we talked about it earlier, and I know you kind of slotted it as a given win, but I mean, I like Matt Ryan. I think back.
They're 5-6. They're only 1 game behind the Niners.
Only 1 game behind that. I mean, remember Atlanta came in in 2019 and beat them, right?
Good point.
So I think you got to be careful of that team. They have a quarterback. It seems like that they're flying kind of low behind. Somehow they're 5-6. If I told you what's the Atlanta Falcons record, you would think, oh, they have 2 or 3 wins, but right, somehow they're right in the thick of it. So that's a team I would kind of be careful of.
To me, the team that is the biggest competition, the biggest threat to the Niners in the wild card race isn't the team they just beat, and it's not the team they beat. I mean, I think the Rams could really sink. I don't like this team at all. Something's wrong with it. And the Vikings, like Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson was just I don't like that team either. So I think the Niners really should make the wild card, but I think there's another team kind of doing the same thing the Niners are doing, and we're not really paying attention to it on the West Coast because it's far away. But Washington, I was watching that game last night, scouting Seattle, being like, okay, this is a team the Niners. Forget Seattle. You know, the Niners have to face them this week, but they're not in the playoff picture. Washington is. Washington has won three in a row like the Niners. Washington beat Tampa. You know, Washington is sort of basically the same exact team as the Niners, but they had an even worse start. But they have a plucky, gritty, gutsy quarterback that the teammates love. They got a really good running back. They have Terry McLaurin, who's like Ayuk but better. They have Curtis Samuel, who's like Debo but worse. They're a very similar team. And they have their identity now. They run the ball freaking hella times. And they're 5-6. They're one game behind the Niners. And they're 5-2 in the NFC, which means if the Niners and Washington finish with 9 wins, or they both get 10, Washington may have the tiebreaker. So last week I was saying Philly, they really blew that, lost to the Giants. I don't think the Niners have to worry about Philly at this moment, although they're 5. They're not gone. But Washington seems to be the team right now that's just as those. I mean, are the two hottest teams in the NFC right now not Washington and the Niners? I think they are.
They might be.
They might be.
I mean, if the Niners win this game, I mean, you've definitely got to put them up there. I mean, that'd be 4 in a row. I know if Washington and the 49ers played one another, Washington has something that would trouble the Niners, which is they have 2 guys interior that can really wreck a game. And,
who are they?
Right.
Who are they? What are those guys' names?
Payne. It's Daron Payne and I forgot.
Hold on, let me get that. No, you're right.
They're both Bama products.
Jonathan Allen. Thank you.
Yeah, Jonathan Allen. Allen.
They did lose their Bosa. That was the other similarity.
They did lose their Bosa, but we've seen in the past the 49ers guards can have problems with these type of defensive linemen, except for Aaron Donald. For some reason, Brunskill can own Aaron Donald, but everyone else, no.
Now, I do think the Niners are better than Washington, but I just feel like those are the 2 wildcard teams that are solid in the NFC. I don't know what's happening with the Rams. I don't really take the Vikings that seriously after seeing them in person. Washington seems to be tough the same way that the Niners seem to be tough. So, like a team that can really run the ball. Gibson and Mitchell are 2 of the better running backs in the NFC right now. Gibson's good. Yeah. All right.
Terry McLaurin is a good wide receiver. And the other
it's a weak conference too. It's wide open. Other than the 4 division, I mean, even the Cowboys are reeling. 3 of the 4 division leaders look good, although one of them doesn't even have a healthy quarterback. Still winning though. Cardinals. Don't sleep on them. But other than them, it's the division winners and the Niners and Washington. That's the NFC right now. Forget the Rams. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the juicy stuff. It's time. The plan for 2021. We'll get right to it. It never made sense. But Ian Rappaport's been revealing things recently, and it's helping us make sense of it. It's clear what he said. The plan was to start Jimmy and to trade him in the offseason. And the whole plan for the year, the number 1 goal, was to increase Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value. If they win the Super Bowl, great. But they didn't make moves to give themselves the best chance for that to happen. What they did was they basically said, we're going to start Jimmy. We're going to try to get his trade value from a 3 to a 2. According to Ian Rappaport, the Niners were offered a 3 and turned it down because they think by playing him this year, they can get it up 1 round. Maybe not even 1 round. Maybe from like high 3 to low 2. You know what I'm saying? Just a few picks. That's what and it's like if they win a Super Bowl along the way, great. Although that would be a good problem to have because then they would have to figure out what do you do with Trey Lance and keep Jimmy. And it's almost complicating matters. It's like the goal was to compete and to make the playoffs. And anything more say la vie, but really it's all about increasing a trade value and making a sunk cost less of a sunk cost. What do you think? Is that how you interpret it? And if so, what do you think?
I think it very well might be what they're going for, but I don't necessarily agree with it because I don't feel as if the value from moving up from a 3 to a 2 equates to the value of getting Trey Lance a year under his belt in playing time.
Right.
And if you're looking to move up picks and you think Lance is that bad, then if he played, you would have a higher. Your second round pick and third round pick would be higher because your record would be worse, and you'd move up that way. But I think you and I both feel as if Trey Lance would play equal or better to Jimmy. It certainly as the year progresses. And for me, that experience would be invaluable. It would certainly be greater than the difference between the second and the third.
Here's the thing, though. They overpaid for Trey Lance, and they gave up 2, 3 threes and 3 1s and a 3. That's a lot, and I understand they're feeling like we got to get something back, and more than that, it can get more. The trade can get more expensive. The worse they are, the more expensive the trade is because those first round picks are contingent on their record. So from their perspective, if we play Trey as a rookie and we suck, we don't know, he's a rookie, then we just paid even more for him. So let's start Jimmy Garoppolo and make this trade a little bit more palatable. Then trade Jimmy Garoppolo for more than we could have, get something back, and then go to Trey Lance. I understand that aspect of it, but I don't think they're actually improving Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value. I don't think that's happening.
It's negligible, if anything.
I think that they'd actually be winning just as many games with Trey Lance handing off 40 times. I mean, he's very good at handing off. Maybe he's not as good as Jimmy as handing off, but he's pretty good at handing off. That's the thing. That's the kicker. I'm not even certain that this mediocre, average, middling veteran statue with no arm and terrible footwork is better than the rookie. I'm not sure of that. So what they're doing is basically, I don't know, kind of shortchanging themselves in 2021 and hoping. And I think they're kind of shortchanging themselves for 2022. That's the kicker here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. They should be all in for hey, if we play this right, we will be Super Bowl contenders in 2022. What they're doing is I don't know if they're Super Bowl contenders this year or next year, but at least they'll get maybe. Are they going to get a second for Jimmy? You think they're going to get that second?
Kansas City got a third for Alex.
Contract.
Kansas City got a third for Alex Smith, right?
I think they got 2 twos for him. I think they got 2 twos for him.
And the 49ers got a 2 for Alex.
Oh, no, the Niners got 2 twos for him. The Kansas City got a 3 for him. You're right.
Right.
The Niners got 2 twos for him, but he was cheap at that point and younger.
Right.
You're trading Jimmy's contract too. $27 million. You might have to pay a lot of that to get a 2. Do you want to?
Yeah. I think Alex Smith was the better player.
Yeah.
You factor in the contract. I think maybe I know we talked. You asked this question, I want to say last week, and I think I said a second, and then you said a third. I think probably a third does make more sense. Yeah. I think at best you're getting a second at best, but it's going to be a late second, if anything. You're not going to get.
The Niners are acting like a third was lowballing it for Jimmy. That's actually generous that some team would offer a third for Jimmy coming off that injury season. I mean, they're thinking, okay, well, if we could get a third coming off that season, we'll play him. He'll stay healthy. We'll go to the playoffs, and then has Jimmy improved? Does he look better this year?
He's the
same guy. He's the same guy. No, there's not going to be a team that's like, oh my God, Jimmy looks better this year. No one's saying that. He looks the same, and some people think that's good, but I don't think anyone thinks that's quite good enough to win a Super Bowl, which is why the Niners are moving on. So if he was worth the 3, he's still worth the 3. If the Niners make the playoffs, they miss the playoffs. Who freaking cares? He hands off 45 times a game. He's a third-round pick at best. Take it.
Right. What they could do to make it look like they're getting a second is they might trade their third for a second, and so we got a second for him.
Whatever. Whatever. That's great. Wonderful. 501 Club Kid says, no Debo. Can we get a light dose of Trey Lance for the big play aspect? I'm saying without Debo, where's the big play? That's a good point. Because at least with Trey Lance, he gives you, with his legs and his arm, big play ability.
We haven't talked about this before, but I got the tinfoil hat thing for with Trey Lance, and that is, it seems my tinfoil hat theory is that the players or Jimmy Garoppolo went to Kyle and said, one of the reasons we're not getting together is like you're running in Trey and then Jimmy and all this. Like no. Let me just play quarterback. Don't run in Trey Lance, and we'll get it figured out. Or let Jimmy play quarterback. My tinfoil hat theory is I think the players or Jimmy brought this to Kyle, and
I think
that's
probably
why
right. I think that's probably something to that. But I think that would underscore the fact that Kyle's been trying to make this happen, and he's been getting pushback. You know, we all think that Kyle's unwilling to play Trey, didn't want Trey. I don't know about that. He was the one saying, I hope it's a competition. He was the one saying, well, let's compromise and have a 2-quarterback system. He kept trying to make compromises with people in the organization. They're like, no, not this year. Okay, man, fine. That's the way. Anyway, Milf Hunter says Eli Mitchell equals Garrison Hurst, fast but always hurt. He's not hurt now, but yeah, smaller than Garrison Hurst.
Garrison was always hurt with big time injuries, though. He wasn't like in and out of games. He would like tear his ACL and be out for 2 years.
Ankle. Rappaport is stating the obvious. We all know Jimmy is gone at some point. The better we do, the more valuable Jimmy becomes. Trey is the future in 2022. I just want to say something real quick. If Rappaport went on the television and did that whole thing day of the game without any new information, they should fire him. That's not journalism. You can't go on and say Kyle Shanahan had a new update this week and he kind of left the door open and I have some information from May that I'm going to vaguely package day of the game like it's relevant and new. No, that's fireable. That's not journalism. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he did his due diligence and whoever gave him the information just said, look, this is deep background. Don't even say a source told you. And he had to backpedal because his source put him in a bad position. But dude, you can't go on the freaking television and say, I have information from May and I'm going to pass it off. No, you can't do that. That's not journalism. So I'm going to give him the doubt that he didn't do that.
So my question would be, has Ian Rappaport has broken Niners news before? So this is nothing new. And number two, it's Ian Rappaport. So he has lots of contacts in the NFL. Like if he's looking for a story to break and he's like, oh, well, let me pull something back from May. He has plenty of options and choices for him to break stories. Like he wouldn't have just
Jason LeCanfra.
Yeah.
Catching strays. Chris says Rappaport changes the story every week. Hard to tell what's true. I believe he's reporting what he's hearing, but he's hearing keeps changing. What I think is that, again, he was told something from someone very high up in the organization. They said, you didn't hear it from me. Don't even say it was a source. This is what you know. This is your opinion. And so he's put in a bad position. Like he shouldn't accept that. That's not good. You don't take that source, Ian. You have to say, no, I'm going to say, you got to say that you put your name behind it. Like, stick up to the guy. Come on, man. But no, he's just happy that he gets something. And so he passes it off. And then when I bring it up, he has to be like, oh, and I heard him what he said on KMBR. He just talked in circles and made no freaking sense. No sense. He was like, well, he didn't answer the question. He started talking a lot. He filibustered. I know what he's doing. Jimmy and McGlinchey, the Steelers. Steelers are a smart organization. So I don't know about that. Let's talk about the plan for Trey Lance. So we know the plan for 2021 was to not play Trey Lance. It seems to me that they kind of sandbagged him. That while York clearly wants him to be the quarterback next year, and maybe Kyle does too, they did not want him to play this year. And they never really gave him a chance. I mean, for example, when he does play, he's a running back. He's not allowed to hand off. Elijah Mitchell's out. When he plays, he's the running back. And he's not using the Niners. He's not really in the Niners offense. So the only perception that creates is he's not even ready. He's not even in Jimmy Garoppolo's ballpark. So in one sense, his unreadiness, which is hard to confirm because we're not at practice, serves to pump up Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value. It helps the plan for 2021. It gives Jimmy Garoppolo, not only is Jimmy playing well, but he's playing better than the third pick in the draft. He's good. The other thing is, the plan for Trey Lance. it seems like there's a contingent in the organization that just doesn't want him to play. Just doesn't want him to play, and that he was basically brought in here to wait around. What do you think?
It's certainly possible. I'm just thinking of, remember when the report came out, like he lost his confidence during the summer, and he was looking really good. Then he's lost his confidence, and that's kind of strange because there's a guy who turned down D1 scholarships at school so that he could play quarterback.
Right.
So basically put it on himself to play quarterback, then won a national championship at that school, then turned himself to the number 3 overall pick in the draft.
Lost
Does
confidence.
that seem like a guy that would lose confidence?
Yeah. And actually he was out playing. Jimmy Garoppolo's doing a pick a day. Trey Lance is holding his own, and he lost confidence. So look again, it looked like the plan was for Trey Lance to be the quarterback of this team, just not this year. And during this year, the plan wasn't to develop him. The plan was to have him make Jimmy look good. So when Trey Lance plays, he doesn't even get to run the real offense because he's not ready like Jimmy. And then recently, he doesn't even get to play anymore. Like, forget all that. We're going to bring you in the red zone, or we're going to give you a package of plays. Forget all that. That's only making Jimmy look worse. The implication is, well, Jimmy's not even a starting quarterback. He's a part-timer. He has to share. It's all about making Jimmy look better than he is right now. So that's why the plan for Trey Lance is to make Jimmy look good this year and then to play next year. I don't know if that's the best way to develop a quarterback, but that's the plan. Make Jimmy look good first. And if you do a good job of that, then you can play next year. But it all depends on if we can get that second-round pick. So, dude, you need to go out there and be unready. Be not ready. Be not ready. Be bad. Make Jimmy look good. So when Jimmy throws a pick, you throw 2.
It seems like to me the priorities are backwards. It should be Lance should be the top priority, and then after that, whatever you can get out of Jimmy.
You know why he's not, though? Sunk cost fallacy. Sunk cost fallacy. The Niners traded a 2 for Jimmy Garoppolo. You can't trade him for a 3. You lost. The Niners spent $100 million on Jimmy Garoppolo. You can't just get rid of him after 35 starts. You didn't get enough. We got to play him one more year. Let's get a little more bang for our buck, and maybe we'll get that second-round pick back. And then we'll just chalk up all the $100 million that we gave him to, service paid, cost of doing business. That's sunk cost fallacy. It's what they're doing.
But the thing is, you can get that value. You don't have to get the value back with said player. You can get it. It's like the stock market, right? If something's tanking, don't hang on to it and be like, oh, we got to wait for it to come back, and sell it now and put your money in another stock and then get your money back that way.
Which is what they did in the freaking draft. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait, no, we want that stock back. We want that stock back. Hold on.
Yeah. Like,
it's not going to go up.
It's not like where you got to look at other places where you can get back. Yeah. Can you get somebody to give you 2 first round picks for Debo? Like, I mean, can you?
Yeah, you got to get creative here because this ain't it. Trying to squeeze a 2 out of a 3 is not going to happen. No. It's not going to happen. Joaquin says, love your show, Grant. Thank you, Joaquin. Just wanted to say that I love how real you are, and all fans need to see the non-biased perspective from a reporter. Thank you. I'm not getting many comments like this right now during a 3-game winning streak. Everyone's loving me when the Niners lose, but when they win, everyone's like, hey, hold on. Grant shouldn't talk like that about our team. Thank you, Joaquin. Hold on. Who let Grant say this stuff? Will Kyle overthink his schemes with Lance? He called a quarterback power for him in a blowout. Why is it so hard for Kyle to use Trey like a real quarterback? I think we just laid it out. You asked this question 3 minutes ago, but because the plan for this year is a Jimmy pump and dump. That's the number one goal. So everything, if you look at it that way, that usually the number one goal is winning a Super Bowl. That's the Niners like number 3 goal. Number 1 is Jimmy pump and dump. Number 2 is playoffs, although those kind of go together. And then Super Bowl if things break your way, which is like, so Lance can't be the turd in the punch bowl there. He can't mess this up by being too much better than Jimmy. Can't.
If Jimmy gets hurt, it's probably the only.
Yeah, that's it. And even then, it'll be back to Trey Lance playing running back. Kyle said Lance would sit this year. Now you're surprised he is sitting? Well, yeah, I guess I was surprised because it was such a ridiculous plan. Like, What do you do? But it makes sense because you're trying to get that second round pick that you're never going to get for Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, I get it. So good luck. I hope you get the second round pick. That's not coming.
Right.
Yeah. Would the most favorable playoff matchup first round? Oh, what's the most favorable playoff matchup first round for the Niners? Cowboys, I would think.
Maybe. I mean, if depends. What's Mike McCarthy's game plan? If he actually sticks to his game plan and runs the football, that could be a scary matchup. Remember, the Niners haven't had good luck against Zeke when if they get Zeke going. Maybe Minnesota again if that plays out. I haven't seen how things shake up, but if they got the Rams, like if they played the Rams, if they own the Rams,
they can't get the Rams week 1, but they could. I mean, round 1, but they get them round 2 if the Rams win.
Yeah,
I think it's Dallas because I don't think you want to go to Green Bay or Tampa or Arizona if you had a choice.
Like, yeah, I think you're thinking of it from a location. Yeah,
you lost Arizona's backup. Like that's not a team you want. And then Green Bay looks better than they've looked they look like the best version of the LaFleur Rodgers Green Bay Packers. And Tampa's Tampa, so I don't know. I know they don't have Vita Vea, but still they have that quarterback. I forget his name. All right, we're gonna move on to 2022, but first I want to just backtrack and take us through a timeline of leaks because there was this leak this week, and a lot of Niner fans like, nah, this is nothing. The Niners don't leak, and it just made me think. Well, actually, there's been five leaks this year, and I want to take us through them, and then we'll just sort of ask you, the viewer, what you think is going on here. Why so many leaks? So it started off in training camp. It was, I want to say, the first week of training camp. Jimmy Garoppolo had a good first few days, and then he started throwing picks. And then he threw 11 picks in camp. It was a typical camp for Jimmy. He's not good in practice. But Mike Silver comes for one day. Love Mike Silver. He's an OG. Comes for one day, watches practice, but really was around the organization talking to people and writes an article saying Jimmy's having his best camp ever, which I thought was strange because, one, we're a week in, and two, that was not happening. Jimmy, and I even wrote it like, Mike, I tweeted it. This is not happening on the field. And he says, fair enough. You're there every day. What I'm talking about goes beyond the field. So whatever that means, meetings or stuff. So there was a leak in August. Jimmy Garoppolo having his best camp ever. That was leak 1. Leak 2. This came after the Arizona loss, the one at home to Colt McCoy. Mike Silver's back. He's there. It's the maybe one or two games he's covered at home this year. He writes a story afterwards saying a source told him that Trey Lance leveled off in camp and lost confidence. That's leak 2. This came out after the Arizona loss. Then recently, Mike Silver again went on his podcast and said that coaches and people in the league have told him that Jimmy Garoppolo is the perfect quarterback for Kyle Shanahan because Jimmy has the temperament and personality to put up with Kyle's tantrums and negativity. That's almost a direct quote. That's 3. And then last one, the last few weeks when the Niners were on Fox against the Rams, that wasn't Fox. Was it Fox? That was ESPN. Was that Fox? The Rams game.
The Rams game?
ESPN.
Yeah.
It was Monday night. And then the next game was the Jaguars. That was Fox. Both times, one of the announcers on television, hey, don't be surprised if Jimmy Garoppolo comes back. And while I can't be certain that's a leak, announcers don't say stuff like that without knowing. There are production meetings where they're given a bunch of background. They talk to the coaches and executives. I'm thinking someone may have been talking on the Niners the last couple of weeks to people in the media. Hey, don't be surprised. Hey, you can say it go ahead and say it on television. Don't be surprised. And that's why all of a sudden last week, someone in the organization had leak number 6 to Ian Rappaport. Hey, don't think that it's almost like shutting down their own leaks. Whoever's out there in this organization saying that Jimmy might come back next year, just know that he's not. It almost seemed like a leak to respond to the leaks, that you have like 2 different factions, not really directly communicating in the organization, but doing it. It's anyway, that's the way I look at it. There's been 6 leaks. And I don't know who's leaking on either side, but I think it makes the whole picture clear when you just put them in chronological order. Acknowledge them.
Yeah. Guys like Mike Silver and Ian Rappaport aren't randomly just bringing stuff out. Like they're definitely getting it from somewhere. They're not they're not sitting there with like the FBI board and drawing conclusions with they're getting direct information from places.
Agreed. And let me just talk about the implications here. I'm not going to guess who the leak is because that's irresponsible. But when you put the evidence together, there have been leaks. And each time the leak has an agenda. The agenda is, hey, man, Jimmy's better than we thought. The plan was to just sort of have Jimmy be a placeholder and move on. But damn, he's exceeding expectations. Best camp ever. He's actually the perfect quarterback for Kyle Shanahan. It seems like and then don't be surprised if he comes back. It seems like there is a faction in this organization with an agenda that is more pro Jimmy than maybe the Yorks are comfortable with, because it seems like the whole organization in the offseason signed off on a plan. Jimmy this year, Trey next year. And now there's this like, well, what if we have one more year with Jimmy? That's kind of weird. And it seems like it's new, and it seems like the Yorks are trying to shut that down. All I can say is, look, I'm not going to guess who is doing this in the organization, but I'm going to say who I don't think it is. I don't think it's Kyle. I don't think Kyle's telling Mike Silver, man, Jimmy's looking great, because Kyle doesn't like Jimmy. Kyle's been trying to replace Jimmy for years. Kyle didn't even want Jimmy in the first place. Who wanted Jimmy in the first? I don't remember, but it wasn't Kyle. So I don't think it's him. And if it's not him, I don't know. Who else would York be responding to? I don't know. But I don't think it's Kyle. So something to think about.
Yeah, and things that make you go.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Who's going to benefit from these sort of things?
Who traded for Jimmy Garoppolo? Whose resume is that trade on? Who? Right. Okay, I'll just come out and say it. Yo, John Lynch has some explaining to do, man. That's your guy, John. That's your guy. And now there's people in the organization being like, hey, don't be surprised if this is another year. What? I don't think that's coming from Kyle, man. What? How much did John want Trey Lance? How much did John want Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't know. I'm just putting the evidence out and saying, man, it's pointing to one guy. It's pointing to one guy. And it ain't Kyle. So, John, what's up, dude? Because everyone realizes if this season goes south, he's on the chopping block. And, he's a lot more clever than Kyle. Kyle couldn't coordinate a media campaign like this, but John was in the media. John knows Fox. He worked with those people. So, I don't know. But all I'm saying is it seems like there's a leak in the organization. And I don't think it's Kyle. And it definitely seems to be helping someone's resume. So, anyway, John, watching you, baby. I'm watching.
This is turning into like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Like you thought that John Lynch was the guy that wanted Trey Lance and Kyle wanted Mac Jones. But
dude, I've been putting it's like the usual suspects where you had him in your office the whole time and you didn't realize till he left. I have all the pictures up and I have the leaks, but there's more evidence to this as well. I went back. They have all the transcripts on there. You can check this out. They have all the transcripts on their website. This was January 4th, the day after the season where they do their like, hey, we didn't make the playoffs, but we're, let's talk about why things are going to be okay. Like the second question was for both of you, is the quarterback issue as big of a concern for you as it is in Niner land? Like, Niner fans are hysterical here. And John goes first, and he has this really long question, but basically the only substantive answer he has to the question is, Jimmy Garoppolo is our quarterback. I'm going to leave it at that. Jimmy Garoppolo is our quarterback. This is, 3 months before they make this huge trade. Kyle goes next, and he goes hems and haws and says, actually, it's a little different this year because we only have one quarterback under contract. So it's going to be a little bit different this year. So John was, Jimmy's our quarterback in January. Kyle was, well, it's complicated. Right? If it was a Facebook thing, John would have been we're in a relationship. Kyle would have been like, it's freaking complicated. So that was the attitude of those two guys a couple months before the trade. I'm just saying, man, I don't know what happened, but isn't it possible that Lynch was like, yo, we don't need to replace Jimmy. Oh, let's just get a backup. Or let's just stay at 12. And Kyle's like, no, enough of Jimmy. I want to move up. And he made this big move. And John's in the background like, all right, we'll see. Hey, P.S. Jimmy looks really great. I just want you to know he looks really great. I don't know. But it just seems like all the evidence is pointing to him, man. All the evidence pointing to you right now.
When they made the trade for the number 3 overall pick, I remember Kyle saying that he talked to Jimmy, but didn't John also say that he also then called and talked to Jimmy?
Again, yes. I went back. Okay, so the first press conference after they make the trade, John talks first, and he goes on and on. I just want to say that I just, I talked to Jimmy, and Jimmy's so great, and he's still part of our plans. It's like he died or something. I just really wanted. And then Kyle's like, yeah, I called Jimmy, and I wanted to know. I was straight up with him, but John just went on and on. It wasn't like we're so excited. This is. It was like I just want to talk about Jimmy for a minute. Again, he has been so pro Jimmy. He's the reason the Niners have Jimmy. That he was like, oh, forget Kirk Cousins, let's do this. And Kyle's like, all right, man, fine. And then ever since then, Kyle's been like, no, this guy's not good enough. Nick Mullins is it's like. So the main advocate in this organization for years has been John. And I just wonder, like, where is all this weirdness coming from? I got my suspicions, man, but I don't know for sure. And maybe it's not. I don't know for sure.
If this is true, there is some good news to it, and the good news would be that their head coach has buy-in on their future, and that's the good news. Most important person to believe in Trey Lance is going to be Kyle Shanahan.
Right. Whoever cares if John Lynch didn't believe in him? Like, dude, you can step aside then. If that's if you don't want to be part of the Trey Lance train moving forward, leave. Yeah. I told you, we talked a few weeks ago. There was a rumor going around the internet that really it was John who wanted Mac Jones and Kyle who wanted Lance. Hey, man, I can see it. The evidence is when you look at the leaks, all this like covert pumping up of Jimmy Garoppolo. Where is that coming from? I understand Kyle seems to have signed off on. Man, I'll say what I got to say and play him for a year and we'll trade him. But this is different. A second year, that's different. And Kyle is just so bad at really expressing himself with words that anytime he's asked a question at a press conference, he's like, and it's like, what? But, I'm just saying someone else might be in control of this narrative. And
John Lynch
is so smart.
When you make this video, you have to use the usual suspects and then put John's face on it.
And then he's like walking out with the limp, and then he starts walking, gets lights a cigarette, and he gets picked up. Yeah. Anyway, that's my theory. Let's answer some things. There is a real chance of winning a Super Bowl this year with Jimmy. No, there's not.
Well,
what are you talking about? They had their opportunity. If we win it, do we run it back with Jimmy? If not, how can you justify trading him? They could go to the Super Bowl again with Jimmy. But eventually they're going to lose to a really good quarterback.
I'll answer this. If somehow miraculously they won the Super Bowl, you could justify trading him because that would probably mean you're going to get the best return for Jimmy, and you just won a Super Bowl. It's going to reset your clock. It's going to reset your clock as far as expectations are concerned. So you're going to have time to develop Lance. That's the best time to trade Jimmy and get Lance going for the next year.
He's not good enough to win a Super Bowl. People be like, well, if the defense had just played better, or if they stuck with the run game. So if you're saying if you had just not used Jimmy Garoppolo in the fourth quarter, then then just put Mullins in what is he there for? To just call the play and hand off? No, what happened was at a certain point, you need your quarterback to step up. And Kansas City's did. And the Niners guy had the worst fourth quarter in the history of the Super Bowl. That's what happened. And now you're going to try get like maybe he needs a second chance. Okay.
But it's I know we get stuck on the fourth quarter, but it's not just the fourth quarter because you go back in that game and he's missing Jimmy. I mean, he's missing guys like Kittle wide open in the first. The fourth quarter doesn't matter. If the Niners are up 21 points, does the fourth quarter in that game really matter? Like,
Good point. They were only up 10.
Right.
The hard part about trading Jimmy is the market. The market for vet quarterbacks will be hot this offseason, but Jimmy is in the bottom tier. And you can sign guys. Like Teddy Bridgewater will be a free agent. He's the same quarterback as Jimmy Garoppolo, but no one talks about him because I don't know why. I have a theory why, but no one talks about Teddy Bridgewater. And he'll cost like $5 million. Jimmy costs you 27. Who's like, no, let me give up a third round pick so I can pay Jimmy Garoppolo $20 million more than Teddy Bridgewater. In what world?
The problem with Jimmy and Jared Goff is not the player; it's the player with the contract. You're not getting the value of their contract. if Jimmy's contract and what he was taking up from the cap was far lower, then you might be able to put together a roster that could really compete. Because he's, like you said, you've got to make up for his deficiencies. How do you make up for that? You can make it up with better players elsewhere, and you're not going to be able to do it when he's taking up. He's the fifth highest pay. He's the fifth highest cap hit in the league. So.
Yeah, he'd have to be making Mac Jones money for you to win a Super Bowl with him, and even then, I don't know. But at that point, he could do it, but not at 27. No. Not playing Trey is more about the O rhythm, says Kyle. Yeah, I mean, he always there's a lot of reasons. There's always more than one reason to do something, and he always says something that's mostly true. But there's a lot of things going on here, Joseph.
I think Jimmy and the vets shut that down. I think they went to Kyle and they said, "Listen, we can't get things going if you keep rotating quarterbacks in," and I think that's why he stopped it.
What's the most important thing to do against the Hawks? Beat them.
Win.
No.
Win. Turnovers. I'm gonna say it's
turnovers. Bingo. That's how they lost the first time. Good call. Jimmy would look his best in New Orleans checking down to Kamara and sitting in the shotgun. New Orleans has no cap space, but some nice secondary assets. The no cap space is going to be kind of rough, though, right? Anyway, we're going to talk about that. That's the last topic. I know you're waiting very patiently for us to get there. Grant, keep up the good work. It's obvious to me that Jimmy Kittle and others went to Kyle to complain about Trey coming into the game. Yeah, I think so. And Kyle's not going to fight his whole team. He's trying to, like, to me, he was trying to, like, compromise. Can't we just get a little Trey? Can't we just get, like, just
right? And especially at that point when you're losing and you're losing games and players and if you're losing games and players come to you, be like, listen, this is
because of this. Yeah.
To get our ish together, we need to do this. Then you concede, and you say, "Okay, guys, is this what you want? I'll give it to you, but you better win."
Chris says, "I don't want Jimmy back, but I just don't see them trading him. No way they'll find a valuable partner with when everyone knows they want to dump him." That's the thing. They're trying to play this game where they're like, "Look, we don't want Jimmy. We're going to trade him next year, but we want Jimmy. That's why we wanted to play him this year, but we don't want Jimmy, but we want him, and we're going to like, what are you doing, man? Every word out of your mouth." Every action you take hurts his trade value.
Every take you make.
What?
Every
move you make, every step you take, you'll be hurting his trade value. Is how the song went. What does leaking this on game day do? It sends a message to whoever is leaking the other stuff, like, dude, shut it down. And they did it in a way like not a source said, it was just Ian. And then Ian walked it back. But whoever needed to get the message got the message. Right? Because whoever was telling the announcers to float that was sending a message to people in the organization. It's a very covert way of talking, but this is how the NFL works because everyone lies to their faces and pretends they're friends and goes out to dinner and goes, ha, 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 let's take some pictures and put it on Twitter. That's not real. That's all fake. That's a facade. They can hit Jimmy throws and do more. This is easy. Who? What? Who? Oh, yeah. I mean, every quarterback in the world. Yep. Taylor Heineke, Taylor Garoppolo, Jimmy Heineke. They're the same.
Taylor Garoppolo.
A little scrappier. Heineke made a bigger play than Jimmy since 2017. Yeah, Heineke, that little run, Jimmy can't make that. I just was like, I don't watch Washington, and I'm watching that game and everything they were saying about Heineke. I'm like, oh, my God, he's East Coast Bizarro Jimmy. Like, he's so gritty. And no way he had to go to Old Dominion, and he didn't get any scholarship offers, but he's just so his teammates love him. And he comes from a great family. And it's like, oh, my God. Stop. Sorry. I don't know where that came
from. What happens if you give Taylor Heineke $27 million a year?
Super Bowl championship. All right.
Yeah.
The plan for 2022, we've kind of laid it out. It seems like there was a plan, and there's someone trying to change it. The plan that everyone agreed to was, and they told us, Jimmy 2021, Trey from there on out. But then there's these leaks about Jimmy just doing great in camp and how Trey leveled off and how Jimmy could return and he's perfect for Kyle, and Kyle won't close the door even. I mean, he even says Trey's the future, but won't say when the future is. Do you think they will stick to the original plan or something weird will happen? And whoever the covert op is in the organization will win his power struggle, and Jimmy will come back. What do you think the plan is? Let me put it this way. Do you think the plan is set in stone, or do you think it's still open to some fudging? I didn't put that well.
I think you got to move on for Jimmy. To not move on from Jimmy this offseason would be crazy, regardless of what his play, regardless of what happens. Will they make the playoffs?
Again, hold on. The locker room likes him. Someone in the organization likes him. So he's got support. I'm not asking you what they should do. I'm asking you what to have a tinfoil hat and a crystal ball at the same freaking time. Are they going to stick to the plan, or are they going to call an audible at the line of scrimmage with 5 seconds left in the play clock?
For me, it would be for them not to stick to the plan would just be so crazy if you're invested this much in. I can't get myself to believe that they would actually do that, because to me it'd be so crazy to go another year with Lance not playing after you invested 3 first-round picks in him. Everyone points to Rodgers, but they didn't invest 3 first-round picks in Aaron Rodgers, and he was the 26th, right? I think it was the 26th pick in the draft. It was Brett Favre that was there. I just feel like there's serious pushback. I
feel like there's serious pushback from this plan. They agreed on a plan, but I don't think the locker room liked it. I think there's pushback in the locker room. And I think there's someone in this organization who agreed to the plan and has been sort of covertly working against it with these leaks. And I don't know who it is, but I think I do. But I don't know who it is. And I feel like if you have the locker room feeling one way and you have like a guy leading a mutiny, then it kind of depends how the season ends up. Like, let's say they make the playoffs and lose in the playoff. They lose a playoff game. Or let's say they win the first freaking playoff. Let's say Jimmy wins his first playoff game. They go to Dallas and they just run over Dallas with Elijah Mitchell and Debo, and Jimmy does his thing where he throws 19 passes and wins. And then they go the next game to Green Bay, and it's not enough, and they lose. But Jimmy, still plays his regular game where he throws 19 passes. This time he loses. What do you do? What do you do?
My question to you would be, who has the most power in the organization?
Jed York.
Who?
Jed York.
No, his father, right? I mean, you say Jed York, but
his wife.
And you just said earlier. You just said earlier the Yorks seem to like Lance.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't think it's particularly John York. I don't think he has any problems ruffling it. He's a businessman. If the team says, "Oh, we like Jimmy," I don't think he gives a flying F what they think. And if he wants to move on, he'll tell.
Here's how they can drag their feet. Whoever, if it's Lynch, if it's whoever, they can be like, yeah, of course we love Lance, but yeah, let's just drag your. Let's just can't trade him now. We got to see what Lance looks like in OTAs first. I mean, Jimmy's coming off a playoff victory. We can always trade Jimmy. We can trade Jimmy in camp. But then, hey, guess what? Jimmy's he's having his best camp ever. Oh my! And Lance lost a little bit of. He doesn't look quite. You could just kind of keep delaying it. Yes, John. Yes, Denise. Yes, Jed. Of course, Trey's. We love Trey. It's just that it's next month. We're gonna play him next month, and then Jimmy keeps doing his thing where he plays just well enough to not get benched, and it could just you keep putting it off. I mean, as someone who put things off as a kid a lot, I know a putter offer when I see a putter offer, and I'm seeing some putting off tendencies.
And you bring back Josh Norman.
I'm gonna do the dishes in 15 minutes, Mom. Can you give me 15 minutes? I promise. It's been 15 minutes. Give me 10 more minutes. Come on, 10's nothing. How are we gonna fight over 10 minutes, Mom? Okay, fine. And then boom, an hour's gone by, and who won? Me. That's the plan for 2022. Players are not complaining about Trey, but the 2 offenses playbook, nobody likes that. I liked it. Let me play. I can play. Put me in, coach. All right, last topic. I made you wait hour 10 minutes for this, guys. That's why you love me. Teams that could trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Bringing it back to Ian Rappaport. As he was doing his backpedaling this week, which was quite dramatic, he kept throwing stuff out to give himself credibility. Like, yeah, okay, that report was pretty weak, but here's some new information. The Niners want a second-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo, and there are 3 teams they think would be interested, or Ian thinks would be interested. Apparently, he has his own opinions. Denver, Houston, New Orleans. Those were the 3 teams that Ian Rappaport listed. Let's go team by team and see if it's possible. I mean, not possible, if it's likely. Denver. Teddy Bridgewater, going to be a free agent.
Denver, the Niners always seem to work deals with Denver. And I think also
Adam Peters comes from that front office, so he's got connections.
Right, Adam Peters and John Lynch is there. John Lynch has connections to the Broncos. So
true.
There's a lot of work deals with Denver even before in the past, before this group of staff members have come in here. But there's definitely connection there. So that's certainly plausible.
I think that would be ridiculous on Denver's part. I don't cover Denver, but if they replace Teddy Bridgewater with Jimmy Bridgewater, I would be so confused because they're the same quarterback. Teddy actually is a little bit more mobile, but their passing numbers are identical. Like in that, My Cousin Vinny.
Listen, I wouldn't do it if I was Denver.
Managers.
It's plausible.
Let's improve from Teddy. Let's let Teddy Bridgewater go. Instead of paying Teddy Bridgewater $5 million, let's let him go and trade a second-round pick to the Niners so we can pay Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy Bridgewater, $27 million. What? No, I don't like that. Denver, don't do that. That's not good. That's not a good look for you. Don't do that. I'm not letting you do that. I'm quality control for you now. Don't do that. It's bad.
The Chiefs did it. The Chiefs did it to the Niners with D Ford, right? Sold them up. So
re-sign Teddy and draft a quarterback. Get rid of Drew Lock. He looks terrible. So yeah, I don't see the Denver one. Let's move on. Houston. Oh, that's Jimmy Garoppolo's dream right there, right? Houston.
Houston.
That's nice. That's good stuff. I'm sure the Niners would love to send him to the AFC, but hey, go to Houston, man.
Houston's trying to rebuild. Like,
why would they want him? Just draft a quarterback.
Yeah, they're not going to be
Houston either. Yeah. And then the last one is New Orleans. Okay, he had success with Drew Brees. He kind of Sean Payton has like a tendency to look for those. He had success with Teddy Bridgewater. Jimmy's like that. They can't afford him though. And would the Niners really send Jimmy to the NFC? Would they send him to an NFC team?
You'd for that New Orleans one where you'd have to eat. The Niners would have to eat some of that cap, and I think, yeah. And for me,
play for the Saints.
If I'm the 49ers, I'd rather have the cap space. I'd rather just soon as cut Jimmy and get nothing for him and have the cap space than get a 3rd round pick and have to eat all that.
Yeah.
If you're gonna if a team is gonna do that and want to do that sort of deal, for me, I think if I was a team that I would look to do that would be the Browns, because what I would do or look to do if I was the Browns is trade Baker, then maybe trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, have the Niners eat some of that quarterback. I won't have to give as much of a draft pick. I'll probably get a first back for Baker, and I can do the same thing because to me, I think, in my opinion, I think Baker is a little bit better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but I think he's in that category of mediocre. But I think you can probably get a team to give you a lot more for him than you could get for Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think Cleveland would do that, but I think it's a little creative, and they might be like, you got to put, in order for Jimmy to be successful, you have to have a running game, which they do. You have to have a good defense, which they do. So you have to have all these great things around him. So
I got a team. Okay. What about the Raiders? Now this would require them, cutting Derek Carr, which they can. He has no guaranteed money, and then wanting to upgrade with Jimmy. That doesn't make any sense. How do you see? This is where it can come. The Niners are like, we're going to get this 2nd round pick, and then Ian Rappaport lists 3 teams that might. Dude, I don't know about this. So is that what Ian thinks, or is that what the Niners think? If the Niners think that Denver is going to be interested, you might be wrong. I don't know about that. You think New Orleans is going to be interested? Why wouldn't they just re-sign Jameis and draft a quarterback? What? I don't know, man. I don't see it. I don't know. Also, Ian saying they turned down a 3. Really? Did they really? Or did they just tell you they did? Really? Really? Who? From who? From who?
Yeah.
Patriots? Not anymore. Well, that's not coming back. So forget them. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I want the cap space. I just as soon as cut. If you gave me a choice between give me
pay for half his salary and get a 2, or cut him and get the cap space.
Cut him.
Cut him. You're out.
Cut him.
Out. See you, dude. Do you think Mostert come? But they won't because of John Lynch's resume. Do you think Mostert comes back on a team-friendly deal to complement Mitchell next year? Maybe, because the Niners never.
Maybe, but I don't think. They'll cut him loose. Like, they have a leverage on that, I think, in my opinion.
If he takes the vet min, which he might, he's got his family out here. He doesn't have any leverage because he's been hurt. He may. I mean, as opposed to like seeing if you can recreate your success somewhere else, maybe come back and feel like if I stay healthy, I know I can kill it.
And the one he's been a lot of different places. The team where he's had success are the 49ers. He knows. I think he knows that he fits very well into this scheme, and that would kind of be a hell of a 1-2 punch with Mitchell and Mostert, if they can make it work.
Not to mention Debo. Den going all in on Aaron Rodgers. No team dumb enough to do it without SF picking up the $27 million tab. That's the thing, man. The Niners are going to have to pay to get this second-round pick. And you shouldn't pay all that cap space for a second-round pick. Just cut him. You don't even draft well in the second round anyway. Drafted Aaron Banks in the second round, man. Trade Aaron Banks. Don't trade a second. Trade Banks.
Or they could get if they get a third round pick, they could get another Jalen Hurd.
Yeah, there you go. It's New Orleans. They want a dink and dunk guy. Yeah, but they also want a guy who makes quick decisions and is a fast processor, and that's not Jimmy. Jimmy is like, even when they put him in the gun and they say he's more decisive, he still hesitates. How many times a game does he do that thing where like the first read that he picked out that thought wasn't going to be open isn't open? He just goes like, and just stands there. And then it's like, and then he just throws without moving his feet at all. And he does that at least 4 or 5 times a game. At least. He is the flat-footed king of quarterbacking. I don't know who taught him to do that. It wasn't me. I promise. Quality control. I'm all over that. You want to know why Jimmy isn't? I'll tell you. All right, that's the show, man. It was a long one today. We had a lot to talk about, but we did it.
A lot of tinfoil hat here today.
We did. Thank you very much, Coach.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
I got my booster earlier today, so I don't know how much more energy I'm going to have the rest of the day. This might have been all I had, but I'm boosted up. Get your booster. Later.